Welcome back, everybody. My name is Renovate, your host, and yes, guys, this is our season finale of MODSAUCE 2 on the FTOG community server. And I think today, guys, we're just going to go over one little last thing that we were trying to get finished on the last episode, and then I'm going to do a quick world tour of some of the other players' bases. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this whole entire series. It looks like you did by the number of subscribers that we ended up getting and the amount of views that we also got. So let's keep it going, guys. We're getting ready to start a new season. I think it's Infinity. I think it's an Infinity Evolved, and I think it's on hardcore mode. And I just hope that you guys will continue watching, and I hope that the channel continues to grow. And we got a bunch of new YouTubers on the community, so be watching for when we do our first episode. We'll put links on their to their channels on the description, so it should be a real fun time, and I just can't wait. So it should start in about a week, actually. So let's get started, guys. This is the season finale. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, so this is the season finale, guys. I'm kind of sad, but I'm actually kind of happy, and I'll explain why. So the past couple episodes, guys, we were actually doing nuclear craft, and for whatever reason, I couldn't get enough power, and I couldn't get what we wanted to do. And what we were trying to do was actually get these depleted cells, which is right here, and eventually it makes something that will help us create a nuclear bomb. And my big plans were to actually let one of these go off by overheating, or actually creating a nuclear bomb and planting it in our base and letting the whole thing blow up. But you know what? That's kind of selfish, and I actually, after I thought about it, I don't really want to do that. And you can see this thing is just charging like mad. And but yeah, this is an 11 by 11 reactor. Kind of went overboard with it. I tried the 13 by 13 reactor, and I just couldn't get it to work. I can put all the upgrades in here. But the 11 by 11 is the only one that I could actually get to finally work. If we click on this, it's got 11 by 11. And if you remember, it starts off with a 3 by 3. And I think it's a 3 by 3. Yeah, 3 by 3. And then every one of these you put in, it increases it. So it goes 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. And that's the inside core dimension. That's not the outside. It's the inside core dimension. So we played with it for a little bit, and I got it to this, and it's just it takes forever to get these things depleted. I mean, you get tons of energy, but this one gigantic reactor was only producing like 4,000 RF per tick. You can see on here it's going into the capacitor bank. It's giving me about 4,000 RF. I get the same thing out of my immersive engineering generator, and it costs me a fraction of what it costs to make this thing. This thing is not cheap to make. So if you plan on using this mod for your energy, plan on using a lot of materials. So what we're going to do today, guys, is I'm just going to give you a quick base tour, actually a world tour. We'll go through mine first, and then we'll head over to Dragon Foods, and then we'll head over to Torgal's, and we'll look. But I just wanted to show you what was going on. I know a couple of the people on the server were actually commenting on this and what it was actually going to be. Before we had our last update, we actually had a mod in here that allowed us to have different types of animals and fish, and it was causing server problems. So then we got rid of it. Well, the whole point of this was going to be a gigantic museum. And what was going to be, this was going to be the back hallway, but out front was going to be a nice big entrance. This centerpiece here was going to have a big globe that was going to be in it. There's going to be a couple of dinosaurs I was going to make just out of the bones out of the nether. And but we just didn't get to a chance to get it done. And then when we updated, excuse me, some of the animals actually got deleted and stuff. But this was the first one that I made, and this was actually from Rebus Dimension. And I put the what were they? The little beetles in here. Some of them are named after the actual Beatles, the singers. And so I put those in there, and I name tagged them, but they still despawned, or they escaped. one or the other. I'm not quite sure. But we were going to do, each one of these was going to be its own little, kind of like its own little museum type thing, or like zoo type thing. So you could be your little railing here, you could walk in here and look at them and then walk out and do the same thing over and over and over. And it's going to be 2 stories tall because I calculated how many different animals and things that were in here. And I was just building this in my spare time. Now, if I would have done this in creative mode, I would have probably had it done, but I just wanted to do this in my spare time. The reason I started this was back about beginning of November, late October. We actually all got together and was talking about how many more videos do we have until we're done. And I was pretty much to the point where I was about done anyways. But I went ahead and started Nuclear Craft. But this is what I was doing while I was waiting on everybody else. And then we had a couple things, like I said, get removed. So that's where we are. But let me go ahead and show you my base. My base extends from this place all the way over here, which ended up being our blood magic area. I used the builder to build this. And I used all these cool little Z-tone blocks and used some of the flesh from the nether and stuff just to give it kind of a creepy look. I didn't quite make it to tier 5. I got all the runes here, but I didn't get this stretch here and this stretch here. I really didn't need it. The one thing I wanted to get to, this was the first time, if you remember, that I ever did blood magic. So we got to tier 4, and then down here below it we did the rune of sacrificing, I think is what it's called. The ritual of sacrificing, or well of suffering. That's what it's called, the well of suffering. And what this does is it basically kills the mobs that are inside this area here and puts their blood in my altar so that I have access to blood. So we had this all set up. It was really kind of cool. And this was just our little blood room. It's kind of cool, and it was all automated. So I turned that on, and it turns the spawner on and all that good stuff. So that was underneath the altar. Let's go back up if we can. Up, there we go. So, and we had all our stones that were getting done here, our ritual stones and stuff were getting done here. And I set up this cool little device here. This was the environmental controller from RF Tools, and this was actually allowing us to, if you look up here in the top left hand corner, it was giving us a little buffer of saturation and regeneration. So every time I would sacrifice myself, my hearts and my life down there on our experience bar would maintain, basically. So I never did lose health when I was standing here sacrificing myself. So that was kind of cool. And I wanted to give it kind of a, I don't know, it was kind of a different look. I've never done anything like this before, but I kind of enjoyed it. But we used this destabilized redstone, which is here. It's not blood, it's redstone. And then when we originally had a spawner up here where we were basically killing off villagers for their blood, I had my hungry node set up here, and they were actually sucking the guys up against this thing here, which is kind of odd. So I basically took that thing and we energized it, so we have it inside of our base now. But we had this hopper, or this dropper set up here, and we had it all hooked up to our ME system, and it was all dropping down through this little hole and into the bottom. And it was making that hungry node grow larger and larger and larger. So this was my first attempt at blood magic. I kind of enjoyed it. Kind of went overboard, but that's okay. It's kind of cool. Never did get to finish the bottom because I just moved on to something else. Up here at the top was our first attempt at immersive engineering. Never did play with that mod before, so this was our attempt. We went over here and kind of created a natural waterfall that came down, and it hit these wheels here. Excuse me again. Man, we need that mute button. So this power all went through here. We got 3 of them set up here, and it went downstairs into our immersive engineering room. This was a little cabin that I created to make a little gun, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll let you go and search that one. I'm not going to go over it right now. It's kind of controversial. This was a tree that I created all by myself. I just thought it would be kind of cool. It's kind of a mainstay for the base. I wanted something large and just something kind of centralized. Over here was our first spawn room that we created. Inside there is the blaze spawner. It's actually really cool when it turns on. If I turn it on, it just spawns these things like crazy, and they're super loud. But it just makes the room really cool looking. But that does that, and that turns it off, and then this turns on all the grinders that are surrounding the room, and that gave us a ton of essence for our Thaumcraft area. Over here, this was where we were going to do all our subscriptions. I actually hit 200, and we're actually close to 300 now. But this was Aaron at Aaron G18. It was a contest that I did. Whoever could get out the most tweets the week I was trying to get 100, and Aaron actually won that competition. So I did a little video thanking him for helping with that. This is our immersive engineering room. These were the two plants that I was using for the fermenter and the squeezer. The fermenter, of course, is sugar, so we got that from the sugar cane, and the squeezer, we were actually squeezing all the seeds that were being produced by the watermelons. I did end up hooking all this up to an ME system, which worked out great. And then, as you can see, if you've been watching some of my other videos that I've been doing on survival stories, I do not have this issue at all. So I have no idea if it's something that's in MODSAUCE that's creating this, but it's quite strange. This is the only mod pack that I've played where I've had this visual defect with these coke ovens and these blast furnaces. But we got those set up for the steel, and then as you can see, we got the industrial squeezer and the fermenter here. And then down here we had our first generator that we made, and it did produce about 4,000 or so RF per tick, and this is our refinery that we were getting all our diesel fuel. So yeah, all our power came from our water wheels from there, and then I basically, over time, I didn't need that power, and I played around with just using the heavy wire. And I did notice that the longer that you extend these heavy wires, I think there's quite a bit of energy loss on those. So yeah, that's kind of cool. If we go down the hallway over around the corner here, this was our first time that man, I'm sorry guys, I have a really bad cold, so just bear with me on this. This was when we did our first ore production or ore processing. This was basically taking these automatic sieves, which are quite, I don't want to say cheaty, but they're kind of cheaty, I guess. But they made processing ores really fast. But basically we had cobblestone, and then they went through the generations, and then we would have, you know, the sand, the dust, and then we eventually had the soul sand there, and it all went over to our ME system. That was kind of cool. This was where we were farming. We were farming ink sacs by just punching squids. And then what happened is I went under here to disconnect a couple things. The block got moved, and then for whatever reason I took out one water source block, and this is what happened. So I'm not quite sure why that did that. I thought we had infinite water source. This was my ME system area. As you can see here, here's my quantum rings. I had two of them. One of them functions for all the automation over here, and the other one was functioning for the immersive engineering room. So that's where all our plant oil and our diesel fuel and stuff was going, and it got sucked into the ME system. All my controllers are up here. We had the ME system here, and then one over there. Actually, I forgot to show you, there is a fluid storage one on that side, which was pretty cool. This is where we had our first nuclear reactor, and then we moved it downstairs. That was a map I was generating of our area. And yeah, this was just it started out small. If you remember, if you watched the couple of first videos, we had like a little area over there that was just our little tiny ME room, and then we expanded it to this larger area. This is, of course, the portal to the mining age. At the very beginning, this is where we started. We started right here in this little corner, and this was, nothing was here. We just had a couple machines here in the corner, and eventually it grew to this. I never did move my bed. I think that's kind of funny. This was our lookout, so we could see everything. Kind of cool. Over here was the QED. I did a little pond here just for fun. This was our workshop at the beginning of our episodes. We had all our machines in here, and then I since moved them over to the ME room. This was our compact machine. There's nothing in there. I just wanted to make it for fun. And this was our cobblestone generator, which we were trying to get the octuple. That's it. And as you can see, we have 4 of them, but I never did make what we wanted to make in that. Over here was our portal to everybody else's bases. This just takes you back up to the top. There was nothing up there. Down here was our area where we were using RF tools, the energetic generators, to produce power. Because of the update, something got screwed up in the mechanism of this thing and it stopped working. So I tore apart this one and was going to rebuild it. I did it a couple times in single player mode and it did not work. I set it up like this. This system did actually work for like 2 days and then it stopped, so I don't know. I have it set up exactly the way it's supposed to be set up and it's just not wanting to work. So we just moved all our power somewhere else. That's why there's this big void right there. So let's go back upstairs. Upstairs, there we go. This area over here used to be where we had our big reactor, and then we since changed it into the Thaumcraft area. And this is where my infusion altar is, and I did this cool little thing at the bottom. Over here is where we had all our nodes set up. Let me fix my mic there. And then this was our hungry node that we energized. As you can see, if I click on it, I guess it's not going to show. Sometimes if you just get it to the right point, you can see it. But it's got about 25 on each one of them, I think. Over here was just our little room that we had our research area, and then we had our energistic setup through Thaumcraft, which was kind of cool. Really enjoyed doing that. And then up here was where we did all our relics that we got from the artifacts in the dungeons. This was my little fireplace I made, our little piano, and then right here was where our dragon egg was from the Ender. And if you remember my Batman episode, somebody stole my egg. This was where we set up just some cool little deco craft stuff, just to give it a little bit of fun stuff. This was where we did our original first sugar farm that was feeding the Thaumcraft area, actually. And then we changed it into something else, and I think I kept all of my villagers cooped up in that little area there. So downstairs, if you go over here, this used to be a hallway that went both ways, but this was our Botania area. Because of the update that came out when all the Botania flowers, other than these and some of the other ones, would die after 3 days. And we were basically done with the Botania type stuff in anyways. It's not something I wanted to maintain as we were doing recordings, which is something I wanted to do to show you guys. But I just never did replant them. Just something that I never did want to keep up with as far as maintaining it and stuff like that. So we really didn't get into anything like Terra Steel, or we did do a couple pieces of Terra Steel, but we never did get into like the Gia or anything. But we might get into that in our new episodes, in our new series. This was the portal to Erebus, which was quite fun to do. That was a fun video. We all explored it and found some cool stuff that was there. Let's go back up. Zoop. And so yeah, that's basically our base, and that took quite a bit of time to build. Lots of hours, lots of hard work, lots of beating your head against the desk and stuff like that. So let's go over to Dragonfoo's base, and I'll see you in a second. Alright guys, this is Dragonfoo's base. He did a really cool thing with doing towers and kind of give them kind of like a witch hats type design and stuff. It's really cool. When he originally started out, he just had this little area right here done, and he had a tower that he was building that was right here beside this one, and it was getting really close to this one, and we tried to help him out with saying how it would be cool to connect them, but he came up with this really cool way of moving the entire tower. So he moved the entire tower. That was a really cool episode. So he did all these little floating ones here. These are really cool. It just kind of gives it kind of that whimsical, magical feeling, which is really kind of cool. This is one of those trees that you can get out of the Erebus zone. Him and Torgal both got one, and I brought one to my base, and I could never get it to grow. I've tried to plant it near water and everything, and just never did grow. But yeah, this was his little portal area that he set up. Up here was his main building for a while, but this ended up being his Thaumcraft area, and it's got a really cool setup. If you've watched his videos, he's got all the wands. This was his research area, which is really cool. He's got all the really cool gear through Thaumcraft, which is really cool. He's got both the books. It's got multiple floors, which is cool. There was his Hungry node that he energized, and he's got that all set up. That was his enchanting area over there. That was kind of cool. And on top was his altar area, and he's got a really cool floating crystal ball up there, which I believe at one point was supposed to be purple. But this is all kind of cool. And actually, in between the floors, I believe is he's got a way of stabilizing these, but it's like in between the floors. I think you can, yeah, there it is. You can get down here and see. So he's got that all set up. It's all symmetrical, like it's supposed to be. So yeah, this was his Thaumcraft tower. Really cool. I don't think that you got energistics in the basement, which is kind of cool too. It's a really good way of doing Thaumcraft, so check out his videos on Thaumcraft. This was the salt bath to get rid of some of the bad stuff. Over here was his Botania area. Awesome way of doing this automation of the shards, like the earth, water, wind, and fire, and all those. So he's got that all automated through Steve's Factory Manager. It's really cool how he's got it set up. I'll have to learn that one because it's a really efficient way of doing it. But he's got all this cool stuff set up here. If I jump upstairs, he's got all this cool mana set up here. And up at the top, he was actually making this device that would shoot colors up and change the colors of stuff, but I think he did it like one time and it changed all the blocks and then it stopped working. But I never did get to see how he ended up finishing it. But it's really cool. It's got a cool area up there. But these are all really good ways of producing mana. And then what did he have downstairs? Downstairs he just had some more mana generation with some floating endoflames. Oops, I just stole your coal there, buddy. And then this was probably where we had hydrangeas, which do die now. So, and that's all hooked up through through his image system as well. If we go over here, this is where he had his blood magic. He's got all the witches and stuff up here on the top. And I think this is what he was just doing on his last couple episodes. It does look like he got all the way to the tier 5 or tier 6, which is really cool. So we'll have to get into that as well to get to that point. But just the way that this looks, it's really cool. He's got all these falling down here, which is really good. And then all the inscriptions. Ooh, got something cool there. Don't know what that was. That was cool though. Over here was his applied energistics area, and some of the automation and stuff. He did it in a tower forms. Everything's up through this middle of this tower, which is really fun. I gave him a surprise, and I don't remember if he kept it or not, but it was up on the top floor. I don't know if it's still up here or not. I gave him a dinosaur at one point, and I actually set it on the roof so he would have it. But you can see all of his quantum rings that he had. There's the dinosaur. Quantum rings, and he's got all his systems hooked up, and it's a really cool setup. You can see all of his crafting machines and all of the molecular assemblers up there in the top. Really cool setup, very similar to what Thorgel's got. So that's his tower there. Underneath all of this, though, is a really cool setup. Down here is where he's got all his all the plants and stuff that he needs for his immersive engineering. It's all being controlled by these time blocks, which is a really cool block that we ended up having in this mod pack. The imaginary time block. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing to have. Down here in his dungeon area, this is where he had all of his mob spawning area, which was really cool. I like these blocks, these grimstones. It's kind of got that little star effect on it. But he had quite a few of them set up in here. He's got the Wither Killer over here, which is kind of like the one that we have set up at spawn. Looks like a wisp spawner in there, maybe. And then he just had some more spawners. And then all of the drops and stuff went into these storage drawers, which I think he could still control through his ME system, which was kind of cool. Down here was the same thing, more spawns. And then he was storing all his XP and his mob essence in here. Down through this little ladder. Here, if I had my traveling wand, we could just use his traveling anchors. Down here, he had a really cool setup for his immersive engineering. He has tons and tons of generators producing, each one producing over 4,000 RF per tick. So he's got plenty of power. And then these was the wheels that he set up at the beginning that generated his beginning power, which is cool. I think he had 3 sets of those. He did try using these, which was the thermoelectric generators. He used cryothium, liquid cryothium, I think, and I forget what this one over here was. But basically, it's the coldest liquid and the hottest liquid to generate power, and I don't think these were very efficient, if I remember. And then down here is where he did his setup for his fusion reactors and his fission reactors, or his nuclear reactors. This was his large one, and then he's got 3 smaller ones. So he was generating all his power through that, or at least experimenting through power with that. And this is how he had all his fuel going. So it's all hooked up through Steve's factory manager from one end to the other, getting to that final piece here, which was this plutonium-238, which was what we were trying to get to in order to make a nuclear bomb. So, yep, that was the final output that you needed. So, yeah, that was his area over here. And he's got some, I think downstairs, if we go way down here to bedrock, this was something that we were going to do too, but we never did get to it. This was a way in RF tools that you can generate power, or not RF tools, quantum flux. They're called zero-point extractors. In the middle of that thing is a thing that actually collects the power. But these things generate RF power depending on how many blocks below the surface you are. So if you put them down here at bedrock, or as close to bedrock as possible, you generate quite a bit of power. So he's got lots of power running through here. And this is probably, I saw his base tour video, and I think this is where most of his power was coming from at the time, because he was out of plant fuel or plant oil for his generators. So that's a real cool way. I can't remember the recipe on it though, but I don't think it was very expensive to make those. So yeah, and that's just a couple more water wheels that you can see from the outside down there. So let's jump back upstairs. I think that there is back up on our ladder here. Jumped up through here. And so yeah, this was Dragon Fu's base. Cool little setup with all the towers and stuff. Very whimsical. He's got it set up here on top of this mountain, which is kind of cool as well. You can actually see over there he's got a couple of the rituals set up over here on the ground. So really cool setup, really cool base. This was, I think, the first time that he was playing with us together, and turned out to be really well. So can't wait to see what he does in the next series. So let's go take a look at Torgal's base, and then we should be about done. Alright guys, so last but not least is Torgal's base. Torgal is the one that owns and operates the server that we're playing on, the FTOG community. And this was his ultimate design for his portal area. So all these portals go to somewhere important, and he's got them kind of set up so you can kind of understand where they would visually go. I never did get to see exactly what he did into the Deep Dark. I think he had a quarry set up inside there. But you can kind of see where these go, which is kind of cool. We're going to go up to his base, which is this one right here. This takes you up into his main tower, and this thing is actually really, really cool. His main tower he started with was just an empty bunch of empty rooms, and then eventually it just kept getting filled up and filled up and filled up with all these cool machines and the way he's got it set up. His ME system is absolutely bizarre, and you can see that they're all going up, and I'll show you what's upstairs here in a second. But this is his ME area, and he's got some portal set up here, and he's just got all his automation and manufacturing up here. This was his reactor, which is below us, so we'll go down a level. You can see his reactor set up here, and it's all working through the ME system. And you can kind of visually see with these illuminated panels what he's got as far as input and output. His automation is in his inscribers and stuff. This was his setup to get his octuple compressed cobble, and you can see he's got quite a bit. This was the cool setup that I ended up copying. I think everybody ended up using this. When he set this up originally, it was like, holy crap, that's the easiest way of ever getting ores. But this is really cool in the way he's got it set up here. Area. This is just a freaking awesome. Whoa! This is dinosaurs downstairs. That was awesome. Yeah, it's really loud. But this is his crafting area here. It's kind of cool. He's got some quantum rings set up that go to different locations. And then if we go up one more level, this right here just reminds me of something like out of the Matrix. I mean, this is just bizarre. And every one of these things had something inside of it, which was really cool. But he's got all these, everything was automated. Everything was getting built through here. He used these really cool electric floodlights. If you've ever seen these through the Floodlights mod pack, these light up a gigantic area. He's got the beacons shining up in the air, and everything keeps illuminated. Really cool to look at. Really cool to look at. Just lots and lots of materials. So let's go down, and I'll show you what's making all the cool noise. This was Torgal's Jurassic Park area. He had this cool elevator. He had this cool minecart track that goes all the way around it, which is really cool. It actually slows down at certain points. I'm just going to fly around it so you can see it. But this comes up, and this has kind of got his researching area, where you would actually make all the dinosaurs, and then he would put them in here as babies. Thank you, T-Rex, for the annoying noise. And this was his way of getting the animals fed up here as well. And then he created Jurassic Park. So he's got all the really cool dinosaurs, cool fence going on, just a really cool build, and really loud dinosaurs. But he's got all the dinosaurs in here. He's got 2 of each kind, it looks like. And then the big ones here in the middle. And then I actually gave him a couple. I don't know if he kept them or not. But just a real cool build here. Over here was his immersive engineering building, which is pretty much balls to the wall. I love this one. He was the first one to do immersive engineering on the server. And it was cool just to see how it got started with the water wheels and stuff. And I never did get interested in it until everybody started doing it. And then I'm like, well, I might as well do it. But he's got a cool little waterfall here that goes over top of the wheels. And then down here, if you open the door, you can actually, oops, didn't mean to click on my book there. You can get back here and you can kind of see the functions of the wheels and how he's got it set up. And then he's got his Botania area over here as well. This thing here was out of control. His video on this was really cool, but it's all done because of a timing mechanism, and they all have the same amount of timers. So that was a really cool way of doing it using the redstone. If you haven't seen the video on this, go check it out. It's really cool. But yeah, this was his Botania area. He's got Steve's Factory Manager, auto producing the rock and the wood, and then over here was his portal for the upgraded Botania stuff, and then over here was the enchanter. Really cool setup. Up here, like I said, was the immersive engineering area. He had this set up, and you can see that weird glitch again. But over here is where all his plant manufacturing was, and then he would bring in all the plants and stuff through these pipes that are kind of clear. You could actually watch the plants and stuff coming through the tubes as they get sent into these the squeezers and the fermenters, and then the fuel coming out into the refineries and then to his generators. And then downstairs, he went even beyond that. Downstairs, are we down there yet? Nope. Down. There we go. He had this really cool system of using the conveyor belts and hooking up his quarry system, where it would drop down inside here into these item routers, and these item routers would tell the ores to go into each one of these crushers, and these crushers would just do non-stop crushing. And then after they process the ore, the raw ore, they would come down here and drop on this. This is where the crushed version would go, and then it would go on down here to this right here, and then it would get sent over to his processing area. Really cool build. Really enjoyed watching him build this one. It's very colorful too. Really cool. Outside here, if you go over here, you use the same building theme for this building, and this is where all his mob farms were. Not all of them, but most of them. So he had all the cursed earth mob farms here, And then downstairs you can see where everything's getting automated and processed into here. And then if we jump back up, he used these cool little carpenter garage doors to get in and out. And there's actually a room downstairs there, which is kind of cool too, but we don't need to go into there. So over here is where he's got his blood magic area set up. I think Torgal got all the way to the end on this one, but this setup is off the charts. But I love the way that he had or not the villagers, but the witches kind of stuck in these little containers. It's kind of a cruel way of doing it, but it's kind of funny. He had his arcane pedestal set up over here. Really cool textures and stuff. Something that I learned from him on making sure that you don't lose the item that you want during these rituals is to put it in water. Really cool idea. And then over here you can see he's got this this is just completely awesome. All the way through here. Awesome. Over here though, where this little beacon is where his Thaumcraft area is. Now, I didn't bring my staff, so I'm going to have to break in, so I'll replace this. Okay, so we broke in. Sorry, Torgal. But this was his enchanting area. As you can see, he's got that set up there. That's pretty cool. This is his infusion altar area. The ceiling on this thing is kind of cool. You can see the stuff down below that makes sure that he doesn't lose anything during his rituals. Up here was his research area. Did a bunch of the chisel bookshelves, which gives it a kind of a unique look. And then over here was his wisp farm. He's got his wisp farm set up over here. It's all automated. And then over here was a really cool room. I love the black beacon. It was kind of cool. This is where he did all of his Essentia storage and his Essentia builds, and he's got the clay golems going on. This was his energized node that he made from a hungry node. I think everybody ended up getting one on this server eventually. And then in here was another spawning area. And you can see that, we must be pretty close to the dinosaurs. But you can see he did these cool multi-block. These arcane stones, actually, I use these in mine as well, but they're kind of hard to first build with because they want to build. I mean, you can't change where this block goes. It always sets up like this, so you got to kind of build around the way that this wants to be built. So this is a cool little area as well. That was his Thaumcraft area. Really cool. He broke this all. He put a builder in here and made this gigantic sphere. And then I watched him day after day. He was in here just chopping all this stuff out, and I couldn't figure out what he was making. And eventually he said, "This looks awesome looking up through this glass," because there was lightning and stuff going on outside. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then we came over here and I could see what he was talking about. It turned out really cool. So I don't know if there's actually a way out. So let me get out of here real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, so over here it is the base of his tower. He's got a cool setup down here by using deep storage units and by using these ME interfaces and storage buses is a way to keep a lot of his storage without using a bunch of storage drives and stuff. And this worked out really cool. Actually, you have to figure out the amount of channels that you can use so that you don't max out your smart cable here, but he's got it all figured out, and it turned out really cool. So check that one out too if you haven't seen that one. The other thing I wanted to show you, and it's over here, I got to go to one of his portals, and I think it's this one. Let's go. Something's wrong with that destination. Let's try again. Nope, something is wrong with that destination. Well, what I wanted to take you to was his portal that took you to his mining, or not mining age, but where he did his nuclear reactor or his fission reactor from mechanism. It's a really cool looking build. I don't know if we can get to it from here or not. No. Let me see if I can figure out a way to get to it, and I'll show it to you, and then we'll wrap this up. Be right back. Alright guys, so I was able to locate it. This was something that I was actually going to build as well, but actually after watching Torgal do this, there was no way in God's green earth that I would want to build this thing, because it would take it would take me for freaking ever to do it. But this is a really cool thing from Mechanism. This is the reactor frame. This is the I think it's the fission reactor, actually. I can't remember if it's the fission or the fusion reactor. But this thing generates just a retarded amount of energy. And I don't mean to use that word, but it's an obscene amount of energy. I think it's something like 600 million RF in one blast. But it's just an insane amount of energy. And he's got it all set up here with the salination plants, which they changed to solar evaporation plants. But he's got the whole setup here where they come over here and the different fluids get broke down. And then eventually it gets sent into the reactor. And then you got these charging blocks over here, these laser amplifiers. And once these things get charged up to a point, you flip the switch. This fires a beam into this reaction chamber. That reaction chamber turns a bunch of plasma into immediate energy, which gets sent into this this box here. And this has got some blocks that are behind these tesseracts. But this induction port, you can actually see its output right now is 8,000 RF per tick, but you can see that's 614. I'm guessing that's gajillion, I don't know, giga RF, which is just a freaking ton. I don't know how much it is. It's a lot. But his setup here was quite cool. And it worked great. And then I actually had to use this power when my energetic generators went down and I didn't have anything else set up. Over here was this cool little building that he did for the nuclear craft. He's got the reactor set up here. This is one version of it. This is the fusion reactor, and these are the fission reactors. And then over here, this was something that we were actually having a problem with, is trying to figure out how you get to the ultimate small lumps of plutonium-242. So he's got it actually broken down here, which is really cool. I like how he's got that. It's kind of like a big billboard to show you how you get to it. This is a massive reactor right there. I'd love to see this thing blow up, but I don't think we're going to do that. So yeah, this has been Torgal's base and additions. He made quite a few worlds with RF tools and the dimlets. And then there's one more base I want to show you guys. This guy doesn't record at all, but he's always been with us, and I just wanted to show you some of his stuff, so I'll be right back. Now this is War Power's base. Now War Power doesn't record on YouTube, but he does play with us all the time, and he's a good friend of Torgal's. And he does a lot of things that are very helpful to the server. Like he's just constantly building and exploring, and he finds stuff and discovers stuff that might not work or does work on the server or the mod pack. And he's always tinkering with stuff and coming up with really cool ways of doing things. One of the things that he actually showed me was that you could build a tinker's smeltery down instead of up. I've always built them up, and as an engineer in real life, I'm always thinking that fluids will always fall to the bottom, and that's where you need to drain them out. But this isn't real life. This is a game, so why wouldn't this work? So he's got his drains on the top, and all the fluids go down. And this just, in my opinion, saves room, because it's you're always trying to keep things nice and tidy. So now every time I build, I always build it this way. It's really cool. But this is his setup. He's actually on top of a really big mountain. If we go up here, you'll be able to see it. We'll go out here into the door. And then he's got his base set up here on top of this. He used this really cool door right here. This is from the Tall Doors mod. It's really cool. I really like that. It's a really cool alternate way of making. I need to get rid of that book. Making the doors, and then he's got he grew one of these gigantic rubber trees, rubber saplings. It's freaking sweet. And then over here on the side, where are they at? Is it over here on this side? Nope. I think it's up here to the northeast. He's got one of the largest reactors I've ever seen. Oh, down here was his Botania area. As you can see, it's all set up down here, and he's got butterflies going and stuff. It's kind of cool. But yeah, this was his Botania area, and he's got a tree farm set up over here, and he's got a cool way of dropping the charcoal for the endoflames, and then that pressure plate picks it up, sends a redstone signal so that you're not always having charcoal drop down here on the ground and then filling up the ground. But over here, if we go way out over here, I know it's out here somewhere. We'll see it pop up. When it pops up, you'll know. He's got this, there it is right there. Isn't that freaking sweet? Look how tall that thing is. But he's got this gigantic reactor. I'm not quite sure how many RF per tick it ended up generating, but it was something insane. I just think that's cool. It's like the size of a building. But you can see he's got over 1 trillion RF. That's bonkers, man. That's awesome. And then over here was his blood magic area, which I actually had to use a couple times, just for the villagers. And his villagers are actually spawning inside this little box here, and it drops down. These little blocks that he's got here are actually really cool. These soul glass blocks, just a cool little texture. And then you got the redstone there in the corner. Actually, that was actually blood, wasn't it? Was that blood? That was probably blood because I'm taking damage. But yeah, so this is War Power's base. Like I said, he plays with us a lot. We enjoy him playing with us. So yeah, guys, this has been the season finale. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the world, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the next series that we're going to do. Like I said, we got a lot of new YouTubers that are going to join us. Some of them have been YouTubers for quite some time, so we were very, very pleased that we got them to come and join us. And so yeah, stay tuned, guys. We'll have a new series up. I hope you enjoyed this series. If you missed any of the episodes, go back and watch them. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button and check out the links in the description for the other people on FTOG community server. I'll see you soon, guys.